In this video, we're going to be talking about how Vancouver, a nation that had enough manpower to expand into the whole of the southeastern quadrant of the world. Today, we'll be talking about their legacy and how they managed to succeed and defeat the USSC even though all the odds were against them. This is the story of the Cunyer War. Background of the war. The nation of Vancouver, after the opening of the Eldham servers, had just begun a series of expansionist ventures across the southeastern quadrant of the world. This included wars against Santos. Ultimately, the eyes of imperialism began to be turned south towards the United Socialist States of Eldham and Exa. Bandit raids were held by Exan citizens, and a shockwave of panic regarding imperialism was sent through the region, with the Anti-Radical Syndicate, an organization of various nations and independent people dedicated to ensuring that imperialism, warmongering, and general toxicity was kept to a minimum in Eldham, eventually being notified, something furthered by a Vancouveran kidnapping of a Volonte government official and Skinny's open defense of slavery. On July 3rd, 2021, early in the morning, Skinny had sent messages to both of these nations, requesting a unification with Vancouver, with them becoming colonies, something that was declined by both. Both Zaka and the USSC would sign the Treaty of Historia later that day, which put into place a mutual defense pact to discourage the war. The next day, on the 4th, fears of a war were still ongoing massively. This resulted in the USSC and the colony of New Guinea signing the Treaty of Kamenek, which put into place a non-aggression pact to prevent war. This was met with outrage by Skinny, since he wanted a war and did not want the treaty signed without his approval. Things appeared to be sizzling down until the night later that day, when Skinny made a massive illegal claim of USSC territory in the USSC-governed states of Chadia and Vanguard. The illegal annexation of USSC territory and New Guinea's open support of the Vancouveran government's actions were in complete violation of the Treaty of Kamenek, which resulted in an immediate declaration of war, and set off a domino effect of alliances resulting in over 10 nations vowing to assist the USSC's efforts of resisting Vancouver. The original agreement was to meet up at their town of Cunyer on July 7, 2021, and the Allied forces against Vancouver would siege the city. On July 7, 2021, the battle had been set to go forth in the town of Cunyer. However, because of miscommunications, the Allied forces thought that the battle had been postponed until some time later that week. However, Vancouver was not notified, and their forces ended up waiting around 2 hours for people to show up, but they never did. Out of frustration, they attempted to raid USSC cities, but since few people were online, only one person who had nothing on their person had died after attempting to run out of a bar and in towards a gated portion of the city of Port Krylov. After this, it was set up that the battle would occur the next day at around 2:30 p.m. EST. On July 8th, the battle was set to commence in the city of Port Krylov and to be primarily led by Lily Prism. The USSC and their allies set up in the center of the town in a position against the mountain with the scene in close proximity to either side. Upon the Vancouverians stirring up, they fought fiercely for over 30 straight minutes. The Vancouverians led small charges of 1 to 3 people, using tridents to propel themselves out of the water in an attempt to waste down their resources. However, this had been anticipated, and the USSC was using this to ideally hold them off for as long as possible until the hour was over and waste their armor durability. Finally, a charge was led against the USSC forces, which forced them out of their position as they attempted to make their way across the ice in the Bay of Gabili for the stairway to the twin forts atop the mountain in the city. The battle was fiercely fought at this point, as people died left and right on the ice. The ones that made it to the fort, however, started sniping the Vancouverans below. Their soldiers had become divided, as well as many individuals trying to attack people while others were trying to climb the mountain the hard, but because they were both unaware of the stairwell and because it had been blocked off, the USSC's Allied forces had the intention of holding them off for at least 20 straight minutes, or traveling back to the city square, which had now been abandoned as virtually everyone had leapt into the bay, but using redstone blocks which could be placed during the war. The Vancouverans made their way atop one of the towers en masse, catching the forces off guard. After a few moments of fierce fighting, Lily Prism called for a retreat, and soldiers leapt from the mountains and attempted to run away on the thin ice sheets outside of the city or died trying. Around 20 minutes after the call to run for their lives, the United Socialist States of Eldham officially announced its surrender to Vancouver after the ARS called off future assistance after the humiliating defeat and it became increasingly clear that it would be impossible to win a second battle, ending the war. Immediately after the end of the war, plans to divide the USSC were drafted. Vancouver decided that they only wanted to take the section of the states of Achatia and Vanguard, which were largely uninhabited. And that's exactly it for this war. A war that humiliated the USSC and its allies. A war won by Vancouver and its colony of New Guinea and its only two allies, Barbossa and Tortuga. On the USSC's side, it had quite a lot of allies, including the Grand Colony of Exca, the Anti-Radical Syndicate, the Regnum Draces, Carcedo Yaos, the United Kingdom of Platagia, the CAC, Montroig, Colsunafil, Drukil, New Baconia, Wandenreich, the Razuni Sultanate, Santos, the Celestial Confederation, and various independent volunteers for the war effort. That's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe, leave a like, it's free. You can easily subscribe later. And I really hope you enjoyed this one. Take care, and goodbye.